Welcome to English Beta. Let's learn together. English Beta. English Beta.
Good morning. Welcome to our podcast series of English learning.
Today we are dissecting a pretty universal psychological trap, which is, well, overthinking.
Yeah, it's something literally everyone deals with at some point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we're drawing our insights from this highly practical framework titled How to Stop Overthinking. Simple ways to calm your mind and build confidence.
It's a great source because it's so actionable.
Right. And our mission today isn't just about, feeling a little more relaxed on a Tuesday afternoon. We're actually equipping you with a concrete toolkit.
Mm-hmm. A real set of mechanisms.
Yeah. So if you constantly get stuck in your own head, especially when you're trying to learn a new skill or communicate an important idea, or just get through your week without being your own worst enemy, this deep dive is definitely for you.
Because by the time we wrap up, you'll have actual steps to stop waiting for flawless conditions and, start actively engaging with your life.
So let's just jump right in. Usually when we hit a wall in life, the most logical advice is to just think our way out of it, right?
Well, yeah. We analyze, we weigh the variables, we try to engineer a solution.
It's basically the core of human problem solving.
It is. I mean, it's the ultimate survival tool. Our intellect and our ability to run, simulations in our heads is exactly how we navigate a really complex world.
We're built to puzzle our way out of the maze.
Exactly.
But then we hit this bizarre threshold where that exact tool just completely turns against us.
Oh, totally.
You think about a problem, and you think about it a little more, and suddenly the engine floods. You aren't engineering a solution anymore.
No, you're just spinning your wheels. You're generating massive amounts of friction, but zero actual forward movement.
Right. So where is that line? What actually is overthinking in real time?
Well, it's that precise boundary where productive problem solving just degrades into cognitive paralysis. Overthinking isn't just thinking deeply.
Right. It's different.
Yeah, the text defines it as a very specific closed loop. It's thinking about a situation for a prolonged period without generating any tangible solution.
And when you do that, your brain just starts fabricating new, totally imaginary problems to solve.
Exactly, which ultimately just breeds way more anxiety.
And we end up completely abandoning the present moment.
Yeah.
We're physically sitting in a chair, but mentally we are time traveling.
Oh, the time traveling is the worst part.
It really is. We obsess over the uneditable past, replaying a conversation from 3 years ago, wishing we had said something cooler.
Or we project into the unhappened future, agonizing over a dozen catastrophic scenarios that, honestly, haven't happened and probably never will.
Right. And the material actually highlights a painfully relatable example of this future tripping. It calls it the trap of perfect English.
Yes, this is such a good example. It focuses on language learners, but, the underlying psychology applies to literally any high-stakes scenario you might face.
Like a first date or a boardroom presentation, right?
Absolutely. Anywhere you feel evaluated.
So let's look at that language learner scenario.
Yeah.
Someone is trying to speak a new language, but before they even open their mouths, their brain is running this massive simultaneous translation effort.
They're just actively terrified of using the wrong verb tense.
Right. Or they're anticipating the listener laughing at their accent. They're doing so much mental gymnastics trying to construct this flawless sentence that their brain just overloads.
Mm-hmm. And the
But
result?
they freeze. They say absolutely nothing.
Yeah, to understand why that freeze happens, we really have to look at how the brain allocates its resources.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Well, the brain is treating a casual conversation as if it were a literal high-stakes survival situation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the amygdala, which is the brain's threat detection center, perceives social judgment or embarrassment as an actual physical danger.
So when that threat alarm sounds, it just hijacks your cognitive bandwidth.
Precisely. The fear of being judged completely overrides the linguistic centers of your brain.
That's crazy.
You literally cannot access the vocabulary you have because your brain is using all its power to run defensive threat simulations.
It's like trying to perfectly choreograph a complex dance routine entirely in your head while you're actually standing on the dance floor.
That is a great way to picture it.
You're so focused on memorizing the exact sequence of steps and so terrified of tripping and looking foolish that you just stand there completely rigid while the music plays.
And you aren't dancing.
You aren't dancing at all, which brings up a fundamental misunderstanding of what we're even trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Ask yourself, have we completely lost the plot here?
What do you mean?
Well, isn't communication fundamentally about connection rather than just passing a flawless grammar test?
Yes. That is the crucial shift in perspective the text talks about. Communication is a bridge between two minds.
Right.
The person across from you is generally not sitting there with a mental red pen, just waiting to deduct points for a misplaced modifier or a slight stutter.
Exactly. They're just trying to extract your meaning or share a moment with you.
Right. Or solve a mutual problem. If the bridge you build is a little wobbly, but the meaning still gets across, the communication is a complete success.
Connection over perfection.
Exact.
But we lose sight of that when the ego gets involved. We want to project this image of flawlessness to protect ourselves from vulnerability.
But if the goal is connection, perfection is actually an obstacle because it prevents us from ever stepping onto the dance floor in the first place.
The ego demands a guarantee of success before it will allow you to act.
And life just doesn't offer guarantees.
No, it doesn't. So you end up trapped in that time-traveling state, obsessing over past failures or dreading future ones.
Completely disconnected from the only place where you actually have any agency, which is the present moment.
Which means the first step to breaking this cycle isn't necessarily solving the complex problem you're worrying about.
No, not at all.
The first step is executing a hard reset. We have to violently yank consciousness back to right now.
Because you cannot control tomorrow, and you cannot edit yesterday. You only have the present.
Right. And to get back to the present, you need a physical anchor. The text introduces the 5 things technique.
Yes, this is so practical.
So when your mind is racing, you take a deep breath. You look at your immediate surroundings, and you consciously name 5 physical objects you can see.
Just out loud or in your head, whatever works.
But wait, you're telling me that when I am spiraling into this complex, multi-layered existential dread about my career, naming a coffee mug, a desk lamp, a pen, a window, and a chair is going to stop it?
I know.
That sounds wildly disproportionate. Like, how does something so painfully basic interrupt an emotional spiral?
It feels like it shouldn't work, right? Because we assume a complex worry requires a complex solution.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is purely a matter of neurobiology. Your brain operates on 2 primary networks that act almost like a seesaw.
Okay, a seesaw, how does that work?
Well, when you are overthinking, time traveling, and ruminating, your default mode network is highly active. This is the network responsible for your internal monologue and abstract thought.
So when the default mode network is running the show, we are entirely inside our own heads, basically disconnected from the outside world.
Precisely. Now, the other side of the seesaw is the task-positive network.
Okay.
This network activates when your attention is focused on concrete external tasks in the present moment.
And because they operate like a seesaw, they can't both be fully dominant at the exact same time.
Exactly. You cannot dedicate 100% of your cognitive bandwidth to internal panic while simultaneously dedicating 100% of it to analyzing your physical environment.
Oh, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So the coffee mug doesn't have magical calming properties.
No, definitely not.
It's the actual cognitive effort required to look at the mug, identify its shape, retrieve the word mug from your vocabulary, and count it as object number 1.
That effort forces the brain to boot up the task-positive network.
It's a manual override.
Yeah, you are actively forcing your brain to reallocate processing power away from the abstract, imagined threat and channel it into concrete physical reality.
You're starving the worry cycle of the electrical energy it needs to keep spinning.
It acts as a literal circuit breaker for your anxiety.
Okay, so grounding yourself hits the mute button on the noise. It stops the time travel.
Right.
But pausing the thoughts doesn't actually get you off the edge of the dance floor. It just makes you a calm bystander.
That's a great point. Pausing prepares the ground, but it's not the final step.
To truly thaw the freeze of overthinking, you have to move. You have to take action.
Action is the actual cure, and there is a specific psychological principle at play here in the text action cures fear.
Because overthinking relies on inertia, right?
Yeah.
The longer you stay still, the thicker the ice gets.
It's the exact sensation of standing on the edge of a cold pool.
Oh, I hate that feeling. You dip your toe in, you test the water.
Yeah, and you stand on the concrete shivering, letting your mind run agonizing simulations of how shocking the cold will be when it finally hits your chest.
You can stand there for 20 minutes, torturing yourself, basically convincing yourself to just go back to your towel.
Or you could just jump.
Right. And the shock is intense, but incredibly brief. And 3 seconds later, you're just swimming.
The neuroscience behind that cold pool metaphor is actually fascinating.
How so?
Well, our brains are incredibly efficient, evolutionary excuse generation machines.
Excuse generation machines. I love that.
It's true. The brain's primary job is not to make you happy or fulfilled. Its job is to keep you alive. So it views any new, uncertain, or potentially embarrassing action as a risk.
So if there is a gap, like even a 5-second delay between my intention to do something scary, like making a difficult phone call, and actually doing it, my brain uses that gap to protect me.
Exactly. It fills that gap with predictive coding. It rapidly generates dozens of reasons why you shouldn't take the risk.
Maybe they're busy right now. Maybe I should review my notes one more time.
Maybe my email draft sounds too aggressive. Let me rewrite it for the 5th time.
The delay is just the breeding ground for hesitation.
So the strategy is to shrink the gap to 0.
Meaning, if you need to make the phone call, you literally dial the numbers before the excuse generation machine can even boot up.
Yes. If you have an email, you write a baseline functional draft, and you force your finger to click send before you can enter the editing spiral.
You rob the brain of the time it needs to overthink.
By acting immediately, you bypass the amygdala's threat simulation entirely. And taking action, even if the action is totally messy or imperfect, always provides relief.
Because it transforms an abstract, terrifying fantasy into a concrete reality.
Right. And human beings are remarkably resilient. We are very capable of dealing with concrete reality. It's the abstract what-ifs that paralyze us.
But, let's play devil's advocate and follow that thought to its inevitable conclusion.
Okay, let's do it.
We force ourselves to take sudden action. We bypass the fear. We jump in the pool. We speak up in the meeting, and we fumble. We send an email with a glaring typo. We use the wrong word and accidentally insult someone. What happens when the mistake we were terrified of actually materializes? Because in that split second, it feels like a catastrophic failure. It feels like the end of the world.
It feels catastrophic because your threat detection system is firing on all cylinders, pumping adrenaline into your bloodstream.
So what do we do in that moment?
We need a tool to intercept that emotional reaction and subject it to a logical stress test. And the guide calls that tool the say what technique.
So we are essentially interrogating our own anxiety.
Exactly.
If the brain screams, I just used the completely wrong verb tense in front of the entire team, we turn around and ask the brain, so what?
It forces a cognitive reality check. When you ask, so what? You demand that your fear follow its own logic to the very bitter end.
Okay, let's play it out. I used the wrong verb tense. So what?
So my boss will think I'm unintelligent.
So what?
So they won't respect my ideas.
Oh boy.
And very quickly, usually within 2 or 3 layers, the catastrophic illusion just collapses under its own weight.
You realize that a misplaced verb tense does not actually lead to you being fired, ostracized, and banished from society.
Exactly. The actual logical answer to I used the wrong verb tense is, so what? The team still understood the metric I was trying to report.
We really do suffer from a profound main character syndrome when we overthink, don't we?
We absolutely do.
We assume everyone around us is paying microscopic attention to our every flaw, just waiting for us to stumble so they can judge us.
But the liberating reality is that everyone else is far too busy worrying about their own typos, their own verb tenses, and their own insecurities to fixate on yours.
So what technique right-sizes the fear? It shifts your perspective on mistakes entirely.
Right. Instead of viewing a mistake as a threat to your survival or your identity, it reframes the mistake as a simple data point.
It's just feedback. You tried something, you got a result, you adjust, and you move forward.
Exactly.
Okay, so we have the 5 things technique to manually switch off the rumination network and ground us. We have action cures fear to bypass the brain's excuse generator. And we have so what technique to objectively evaluate the inevitable mistakes. But performing these mental gymnastics requires serious effort.
It really does.
You can't spend your entire day actively fighting your own brain.
No, cognitive reframing is metabolically expensive. It drains your mental energy.
If you are constantly having to deploy these techniques, you will eventually experience decision fatigue and burnout.
Which leads to the critical preventive measure in the guide. You have to stop the buildup of mental noise at the source.
By giving your brain actual downtime.
Yes. We treat our bodies with so much more respect than our brains in this regard.
How do you mean?
Well, if you run 10 miles, you don't immediately go to the gym and do heavy squats. You sit down, you rest your muscles.
But with our minds, the moment we finish a grueling cognitive task, We just put the brain on a different kind of treadmill.
We have a fundamental societal misunderstanding of what mental rest actually is.
I think they're right. Like, when we feel overwhelmed, our instinct is to reach for our phones to just zone out.
Right. We scroll through social media feed or watch short-form videos, and we categorize that as taking a break.
Why isn't it a break? I mean, I'm just lying on the couch, my body is resting, I'm not doing math equations. It feels completely passive.
It may feel physically passive, but neurologically, it is an incredibly high-input activity.
Wow, really?
Yes. Your brain is rapidly processing a relentless stream of changing images, reading text, interpreting social cues, and experiencing micro spikes of emotion, amusement, outrage, envy literally every few seconds.
So trying to rest your brain by scrolling social media is like trying to rest your digestive system by eating a massive buffet of tiny snacks.
Oh, that's a brilliant way to conceptualize it.
You might not be eating a heavy meal, but your system is still constantly working to process everything you were shoving into it.
That is exactly it. True mental rest requires a low-input environment.
You have to remove the external data stream so the brain can finally run its background processes.
Right. Throughout the day, your brain accumulates a massive backlog of thoughts, emotions, and new information.
It needs quiet, unstructured time to consolidate those memories and process those emotions.
Essentially to defragment the hard drive.
But if the hard drive is constantly downloading new data from a screen, it never gets to organize the files.
And the noise just builds and builds until you feel overwhelmed and start overthinking again.
So what are the alternatives the text suggests?
They are remarkably simple, yet they feel almost radical in our hyper-connected world.
Like what?
It means taking a 20-minute walk outside, but deliberately leaving your phone on the kitchen counter.
Well,
It means sitting quietly on your balcony with a cup of coffee and just letting your mind wander, or listening to instrumental music without simultaneously reading the news.
it's about giving yourself permission to just exist for a few moments without consuming anything.
Yes. And there is a highly practical upside to this, especially for anyone listening who is trying to acquire a new skill.
Like learning a language.
Exactly. A brain that has been allowed to process its backlog and clear its working memory is vastly more capable of learning.
You cannot effectively absorb the vocabulary of a new language or grasp a complex new software at work if your cognitive bandwidth is already maxed out by digital noise and unexamined anxiety.
You have to clear the cache before you can install new software. Rest is not a luxury or a reward for being productive. It is a biological prerequisite for cognitive function.
That is such a powerful reframe. We have covered some incredibly powerful terrain today, extracting a real mechanical toolkit from this guide on stopping overthinking.
We really have.
Whether you are actively trying to master a new language, staring down a terrifying blank email draft to a difficult client, or just trying to find some peace after a chaotic day, the core message here is a definitive call to action.
It is. Stop waiting for the stars to align.
Right. Stop waiting until you feel perfectly ready because your brain's excuse generator will make sure that day never arrives.
Start speaking, start doing, and start actually living.
And as you move from overthinking into action, fundamentally change your relationship with the stumbles you will inevitably experience along the way.
Because mistakes are not evidence of your inadequacy.
They are tangible proof that you are in the arena. They are the data points that prove you're engaging with reality rather than hiding in the safety of your own imagination.
Exactly.
Mistakes as data points, proof that you are trying. As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you, our listener, with a thought to mull over on your own.
Let's hear it.
If everything we've discussed holds true, if mistakes are simply the friction that occurs when we push our boundaries and interact with the world, what does a life with absolutely zero mistakes actually look like?
Wow.
Is a flawless record the sign of a perfect life? Or is it just a tragic symptom of a life where you haven't truly tried anything at all?
That is a profound question to sit with. A flawless record might just mean you never left the edge of the pool.
Exactly. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, put the phone down, go take that walk, and whatever you do, don't be afraid to make a few glorious mistakes out there.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more.